Hello and welcome to Skill Sprints. My name is Mark. Today's skill is the JavaScript document object model. We're going to be looking carefully at the document object model and how you can use JavaScript to interact with elements inside the web browser. Here we are in Replit. I'm going to create a Replit using the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript template. I'm going to call this document object model. I'm going to replace the HTML with some HTML I already have stored on the clipboard. Let's take a look at it. Notice there's an H1 with the ID page title, and there's some text in there, as well as a button with the ID My Button. These IDs are going to be used to hook in the JavaScript so we can identify these individual elements for manipulation. We can't forget to attach our script tag. Now we can go to script.js and write some JavaScript. The first thing I'd like to do is retrieve that page title element from the HTML and give it a reference here in the JavaScript. So I'm going to call the variable page title, and then I'm going to use document getElementById. What this does is it allows me to grab an HTML element by its ID attribute. So the ID is page title. As a reminder, let's look at the HTML. And there on line 7, you can see H1 ID page title. Now that I've created a reference, I can actually access that element through JavaScript. We can use console log to get started. So from the page title object, I'm going to access the text content property. Let's go ahead and run this and see the results. And there you can see the text Hello Skill Sprints. If we look at the HTML one more time, the H1 on line 7 contains the text Hello Skill Sprints. We can also use the DOM to manipulate the elements in the HTML. We've created this reference to page title. I can use the text content property in this manner to change the content inside it. Let's change this to JavaScript is money. We can also change style elements. So if I use page title.style, I can now access any of the CSS elements and change them. I'm just going to go for color, and let's set the color to orange. So now when we run this, 3 things are going to happen once the page title element is retrieved and accessible to the JavaScript. We're going to log out the initial text content. We're going to change the text content. We're going to change the text color. So console log will see that in the console, but we'll see the results of our other changes on lines 4 and 5 in the web view itself. And notice now in the web view, the text is orange and it says JavaScript is money. And we still have in the console Hello Skill Sprints. So we know that the actual content changed when line 4 was executed. Now the change wasn't visible to the naked eye, it happened too fast in the browser window. But we did this by changing what's stored in the DOM, the document object model. I think one of the most interesting things we can do when working with the document object model in JavaScript is to create new elements that didn't exist in the original HTML. Let's start by creating a logical division. This logical division has been given the ID output. This will be the home for the new element we'll create with JavaScript. Let's move to our JavaScript, and let's create a reference to that output div. I'll also call this output. So now we have a variable output that references the output logical division in the HTML that we just created. Remember, that's where we're going to put the new element that we create dynamically. We can create that element now. We'll do it down here. So we've created a new paragraph element, and we're referencing it with new message. Let's put some text inside of new message. So now we have our element, we have text inside it, but it's not yet part of our HTML. We're going to use JavaScript to attach this new element to the HTML. I'm going to use the output div that we created, and I'm going to append the new element as a child. The new element is, of course, referenced with new message. Let's go ahead and run this. And there you can see our text in the web view. This message was created dynamically with JavaScript. So our new paragraph is part of the HTML. If we wanted to see it, we could go here to the Elements tab, go into the body. There's our output div. Inside it is the paragraph. And there's the text. This message was created dynamically with JavaScript. So we've actually inserted this paragraph tag into the DOM, or into the browser's memory, in the appropriate place in our HTML. We can also use the DOM to monitor for events that occur within elements on the screen. Let's see how. You'll notice here in the HTML there's a button tag on line 8. The ID is my button. But right now if we click, nothing happens. Let's go ahead and add an action to that button. So in the JavaScript, that button is now referenced by document getElementById, my button. I'm going to ask my button to monitor for an event. Let's use the click event. And then when the click event occurs, we're going to run this function. So what this code basically says is, on line 3, we're creating a reference to the button. When the button is clicked on line 5, we'll run the function between the curly brackets where our cursor is flashing on line 6. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to take the JavaScript is money text and we're going to remove it. So that's page title dot style dot visibility, and I'm going to set that to hidden. So essentially we're going to adjust the CSS visibility rule and set it to hidden when the button is clicked. Let's go ahead and run. Okay, and now we'll click our button and the text is hidden. I hope you've enjoyed this skill sprint where we took a brief tour through the DOM with JavaScript. I'm Mark. See you next time.